What's going on YouTube? It's Teej back again with another video, and today I'm giving you my picks for week 16 of the NFL season. Hopefully you will enjoy today's video. If you do, hit that like button. It really would help me and my channel out a ton. And if you're new around here, hit that big red subscribe button and comment your picks for the week. Love to have some discourse with you down in the comments section. What picks maybe you disagree with me on, or what picks do you think I'm right on? And let's talk about why we think the way we do. It's always fun to talk football with new people. So join me down in the comments section. Let's jump right into the picks for this week. If you're new to these videos, I'm just picking winners. You'll see my season record down at the bottom of your screen. I will talk spread for each and every game, so we can get some betting talk in there as well. I don't want to talk spread in betting talk from this past week, and it was just a frustrating entire week, really, for me. But nonetheless, let's jump into week 16. I'm going to take the 49ers to win on the road. I think it is a little challenging, right? This was a disappointing loss for Tennessee this past Sunday against Pittsburgh, and it's always tough when you're playing on Thursday night and you're the team traveling. That's San Francisco in this situation, so that plays to the benefit of the Titans, again, coming off of a tough loss. They really shouldn't. You can't lose to a team with 168 total offensive yards, so I think there's a lot to play for with Tennessee. So if we're betting, I'd go with the Titans, but that said, Kyle Shanahan has his team rolling right now. That offense looks fantastic, and they have a lot of different playmakers. So where they get stymied in one area, they're able to make up for it in other areas and get the ball to George Kittle, Samuel, Ayuk. They just have a ton of guys who can make big plays happen. So I'm going to go with the 49ers. They're rolling right now, but if we're talking betting, I think I'd go Tennessee here with the 3 points on their side. On to the Saturday slate, Christmas. Additionally, there's not going to be a video this Saturday. Sorry, I'm going to be with family, but hopefully you all have a very Merry Christmas, a Happy Holidays. Hopefully, however you plan on spending the holiday season, it goes to plan, basically, and hopefully it gives you everything you need and then some. So back into picking these games. Green Bay, Cleveland. This is a challenging one when it comes to the spread. I'll take the Packers to win. Part of it, we don't know the entire situation. Is Baker going to be back? Is Case Keenum going to be back? What's that COVID outlook for Cleveland? Is Kevin Stefanski going to be on the sidelines? So right now, I really wouldn't touch this game, but 7.5 points is a lot. And you might get something where right now it's really uncertain, but then Baker is cleared. Stefanski is good to go. And with these players coming back, the line might move closer. So maybe you want to touch Cleveland now, get the 7 plus the hook at 7.5. So maybe betting-wise, we go the Browns there. And this might be the game of the weekend. Colts, Cards, give me Indianapolis on the road. And I can see this one breaking a lot of different ways. Just like I talked about with Tennessee, Arizona's coming off a really disappointing loss. So there's certainly a lot for them to play for. But like we talked about with that Thursday night game, the Colts are maybe the hottest team in football right now. And ultimately what I think this comes down to, especially with no DeAndre Hopkins, I worry about what the Cardinals can do on the offensive side against Matt Eberflus and his defense. His defense has done a really good job, not only limiting big plays, but creating turnovers. And Darius Leonard is everywhere on the field. And I look at that Cardinals offense, and no Nuke Hopkins, that's a lot more to put on the shoulders of Kyler Murray. He was hurt earlier this year, so he's probably not playing at 100%. And, it's nice to have Chase Edmonds back in there. You can split him and James Conner, but I think the running game really is going to be, if Arizona is able to make big plays happen and come away with a win, it's because Kyler Murray does a lot with his legs. Connor finds the end zone, and Edmonds is a dynamic weapon overall. But the reason I'm going with Indianapolis, they can ground and pound the rock. And that said, the 49ers and Cardinals game, the first time these two teams met and Trey Lance was a starter, Zaven Collins played a season high in snaps, and he did a really good job bolstering that Cardinals rushing defense. So maybe that's a similar situation we see, and that helps slow down the Colts rushing attack. But the Patriots can't do it. I'm not really seeing a whole lot of teams that can stand up against the Colts offensive line and Jonathan Taylor in specific. And additionally, it comes down to, if you get anything other than what we saw from Carson Wentz last Saturday against the Patriots, it's an upgrade at that position, and it's the most valuable position. So odds are Wentz will play better, and then the Colts, I feel pretty good about them. Plus, you get the point if we're talking betting market. Falcons and Lions. Yeesh. This is if you're not a fan of one of these two teams and don't have fantasy implications on it, do not watch this game. I'm gonna on the road. Man, you really caught me in the middle. Betting wise, definitely go with the Lions. And you know what? I'm gonna go with Detroit. what if they do this, right? And really this will come down to whose defense lets who down a little bit more, right? I think the Lions were able to create some turnovers last week, and that helps hide some of the weaknesses. Plus, Charles Harris has been playing really well down the stretch and overall in the season. For Atlanta, A.J. Terrell's fantastic, and maybe he takes away Amon-Ra St. Brown, but who else has the answer for Josh Reynolds, T.J. Hawkinson? We're definitely scrapping to try to find a difference in these two sides. But because of that, I see this as a coin toss. If we're talking betting, definitely go with the Lions. If it's a 50-50 proposition in your eyes, take the team with points. And Detroit's getting a fair amount of them, so I'll take the Lions plus the 5.5 points. Bengals and Ravens. So it was kind of an ugly win last week for Cincinnati, and kind of a heartbreaking loss for Baltimore, right? You work all the way back, Tyler Huntley gets you right there, and then you ultimately fall just short. Bengals won the first matchup. I'm going to take the Ravens. I'm going to go road dogs. 3 consecutive road dogs. This is not in my nature. But I think whether it is Tyler Huntley or Lamar Jackson's back, I think that offense will cause problems for Cincinnati, and specifically that linebacking core. And if Baltimore leans into what they can do with both those quarterbacks and their legs, I think then you can open up the offense and really start to pick apart the Bengals defense and get players like Rashad Bateman, Mark Andrews, Hollywood Brown further in the mix from that point onward. Where I do worry about this battle, and the reason you would bet the Bengals is who in the Ravens secondary is stopping Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, or Tyler Boyd, let alone all 3 of them. That is a bit of a scary proposition. I'm gonna hope, since I'm making this pick, I'm gonna hope that the Ravens take away Joe Mixon in the rushing game, and then get enough pass rush between Odafe Owe, Tyus Bowser, Pernell McPhee, whoever is available to play in this game for Baltimore. Get just enough pressure to try to stymie that passing attack, slow it down just enough, and then the Ravens offense can use the legs of Huntley or Jackson, whatever, and take the clock as a factor on their side as well, and then come away with a big road win and split the season series. That's the other side of it. I don't necessarily think the Bengals are better than the Ravens to the point where they sweep them. So I'm going to go with the season split and take the road dog in Baltimore. Vikings and Rams. I'm going to take Los Angeles to win and cover. I think this week and the next week when the Vikings play Green Bay, we're going to start to see a little bit more of who this Minnesota team is in big stage situations. Like if Kirk Cousins elevates his play in these big game moments, this team deserves to be in the playoffs. But if he has his issues and this team falters under the pressure if they get a big lead or whatever the case may be, missed field goals, that's always a possibility with the Vikings, then, obviously they're going to play their way out of the playoff conversation. The Eagles are going to take over that 7th spot. So it's really interesting end of the season look at the slate for Minnesota. I think the Rams are a better football team right now, and coming off a physical game, a balanced approach against Seattle on Tuesday. That's one of the other things in the mix here, right? Minnesota played on Monday. One more day of rest compared to Los Angeles, and the Rams are traveling. But I think this Rams offense can really pick apart that Minnesota defense. No Daniil Hunter, obviously. I think the Vikings might have a hard time generating pressure. And then on the other side of the football, Aaron Donald's a game record. Jalen Ramsey was back, and he looked good against Seattle. So I'm going to go with the Rams to win and cover, even though the Vikings always play close games. So 3 points on the spread is a pretty safe bet if you're going to go with Minnesota there. Bills and Pats. It's a week for underdogs on the road. Again, it's similar to the Ravens, Bengals things. I don't know if these two teams are separated by enough to where there's one side taking the season series. That said, the Patriots match up perfectly, and Bill Belichick is a defensive mastermind. But when these two teams played at 50-mile-an-hour winds on Monday Night Football in Buffalo as a 14-10 final score. So I think there is more than enough here between these two teams to keep this game close. And now we're going to see a little bit more normal situations, right? We're assuming not going to have 50-mile-an-hour winds and snow, sleet in the mix as well. And additionally, especially in division series, these road splits are fairly common. It almost feels like they happen more than home and home splits. So I'm going to take the Bills to even up the series and get a big win. And give the Pats 2 consecutive losses, kind of give them a reality check, and put the Bills right back into the thick of, best team in the AFC type of conversation. We got to pick them here between the Jets and the Jags. I'll go with the Jets. I mean, both these quarterbacks have really struggled. What I have been encouraged by is the Jets have found ways to, Michael Carter's had some moments, the rushing game in general. And then there are some pass catchers you can work with. Meanwhile, it's Laquan Treadwell, it's Tavon Austin, it's a bad look. Dan Arnold getting a lot of targets for the Jags, and I can't trust that too. Additionally, I know both offensive lines have been great, but I'll take the side that has, Elijah Vera, Tucker, and Morgan Mose. I'll go with the Jets here, though I don't think the Jags offensive line's been as bad as it could have been, but this is an ugly game. Additionally, where maybe there's a little bit more of a differentiation. Jags defense has had games, but they've been up and down. The Jets defense overall, not always, overall, at least the front four have been able to make enough of a difference. And maybe that pass rush ultimately decides the winner here. So I'm going to go with the Jets at home. It's a pick 'em. That's a tough one. Eagles-Giants, I'll take Philadelphia to win and cover. They play a style that maybe it depends on what the over-under is. Maybe go under in this contest. One, because Jake Fromm in his first start for the Giants, and then the Eagles have really embraced this rushing attack, chewing up time on the clock, and then therefore less possessions to go around. So maybe this is a game, once I see what the over-under is at, I'll bet the under. But I'll take Philadelphia to win and cover. This is a game you got to have if you're going to make the playoffs. Giants stole one from Philadelphia, so I think there's a little bit of a revenge factor in there. And again, it's Jake Fromm making his first career start, and he was a good college quarterback, and he played in some hostile environments. But your first start in Philadelphia, I do not envy Jake Fromm in that situation right now. Then we get the Panthers and the Bucks. I'm going to take the Panthers to win. I'll go ahead and take them to cover here. 10 points is a lot, but this rotating QB system sounds like Sam Darnold might be a part of it this upcoming week, coming off injury for Carolina. So I don't like that in general. If you have more than one QB, you really don't have one at all. And additionally, as the year's gone on, Carolina's defense has kind of lost some of that luster. It's just been worn out, right? They've been on the field way too much because the offense is decrepit of any sort of long-standing talent for this team. I mean, that's terrible to say because DJ Moore's a stud, and I think Robbie Anderson's a solid player, and Terrence Marshall Jr. might be something, but you can't see it with the QB play that Carolina's gotten this year. And then the Bucs need a get-right moment, right? Especially batting a lot of injuries. This feels like a game where they can pick on Carolina, boost their spirits, and then be right back in that best team in the NFC conversation, despite not having Leonard Fournette, not having Chris Godwin. I doubt they'll have Mike Evans in this one. But I think this is a win to get back on schedule type of game for Tampa Bay. And then we get to the Chargers-Texans. I'll take LA to win. I kind of like Houston to cover this. The Chargers don't have it in them to really blow out a whole lot of teams. I say that they did stomp on the Giants a couple weeks back. So maybe if you're looking at that and saying, okay, the Chargers starting to turn a corner, they're not going to always play close games, you can feel confidence with having the Chargers cover this number. So you know what? Actually, I'll go ahead and pivot. I'll say the Chargers cover this mark too. But that said, they do have a history of playing close games, and the Texans' scrappy squad. This was Tyrod Taylor. I'd maybe go Houston to cover the 10, but Davis Mills is a bit of a roller coaster, and it hasn't always been pretty. And this could easily be one of those games where Staley, draws up some gems, right? Like his game plan's on point and then just puts Davis Mills in a blender. I can totally see that headline writing itself. So I'll go with LA to win and cover the 10-point mark. Bears and Seahawks. This is kind of fun because maybe 8 months ago we were talking about, maybe Russell Wilson is going to end up in Chicago, and now these two teams play one another. This is tough. Again, part of it comes down to the COVID situation with the Bears, right? No Jalen Johnson. Thomas Graham Jr. looked pretty good, but he wasn't lined up against Justin Jefferson, I think, at all on Monday night. So that helps. More favorable matchups for a corner. I'll go with Seattle to win, and especially if there's no Jalen Johnson. Tyler Lockett, if he's back in the lineup, he also had some COVID issues, part of the reason the game was moved. So again, a lot in flux here, but let's say Lockett's out and Jalen Johnson's out. I like DK Metcalf against whoever Chicago throws his way, as long as Seattle tries to give him the football. And it just feels like the tires are starting to run pretty thin right now for Chicago. That said, Justin Fields did show a little bit of life in the fourth quarter against Minnesota, but if you lose the Vikings with Kirk Cousins throwing for less than 90 yards, you're not a competitive football team by many people's standards. So I'll take Seattle, but that one's close. Plus they're at home, so I like that. I'll take Kansas City to win at home and cover the 7.5. It's interesting to get the hook, the Steelers, and they're another squad that has a knack for playing close games, unless you're the Cincinnati Bengals. But I think the Chiefs are starting to figure it out, and they're learning how to play more over the middle of the field, and they're making Tyreek Hill a check down option, and they're having Kelsey live at the sticks a lot. And they're finding ways where, hey, if you're going to make us play underneath, we can do it. We'll do it. And I think Pittsburgh, over the past couple of weeks, has really struggled in third and long defense and have been giving up a lot of chunk plays. over the middle of the field in that 10 to 20 yard range, letting receivers use their yak ability against him as well. So this is also a game where if Kansas City gets the ball first, scores a touchdown, you might as well turn it off, because I just cannot see how Pittsburgh's going to be able to try to keep up with Kansas City's offense. Like, even if it's not a great Chiefs offense, not from years past, is Big Ben keeping up with 50% of Patrick Mahomes, 60%? Like, I doubt it. So I'll take Kansas City to, especially, maybe it stays close in the first half, but then by the second half, I think the Steelers offense kind of loses its luster and Kansas City pulls away. On the other side of that note, though, Pittsburgh, couple of slow starts the last couple of weeks, couple of inspiring second halves. So maybe I'm wrong there. Then we get to the Broncos and the Raiders. Coming off a big win for Las Vegas. No word on if Teddy Bridgewater is going to play. If it's Drew Lock, I'll go with the Raiders just because they might be able to cause some turnovers against Lock. And Gus Bradley, he is in his cover 1, cover 3 mold, but he still might be able to give Lock a couple of confusing looks, generate just enough turnovers, and then Carr at home could be in for, a solid showing there. It's tough against the Broncos defense. That's part of why I really want to go with Denver. Additionally, this offense is just not good since Henry Ruggs has been out. There is a chance that, Waller's in the mix, and that obviously helps him out a ton, but without a big play threat, and Deshaun Jackson had a couple of drops the other day, that hurts. But without a legit deep threat that can be on the field almost every snap, this offense loses so much of its luster with how it's been drawn up by John Gruden, who's not even the head coach right now. So this is a tough one. I'll go with the Raiders to win, and the 1-point spread, it's basically pick them. And then we have a really interesting Sunday night game on our hands. Washington and Dallas. This one's tough. I'm going to go with Dallas to win. That said, I know I mentioned it with Baltimore and Cincy, and then the Bills and Pats. Those two teams feel closer with one another than I feel like the talent difference between Washington and Dallas is. I think Dallas just has a little bit more of an edge against the Washington football team compared to where maybe the Bills and the Pats are, and then the Ravens and Bengals. So I don't feel as bad saying that the Cowboys can sweep Washington football team. Additionally, I just don't know what's going to happen with the COVID situation. Is this Garrett Gilbert taking on his former team in a revenge game? If so, I'm honestly kind of leaning. Maybe we go Washington football team, be able to cover this mark. Maybe, he played pretty safe on Tuesday night against the Eagles. He played a safe brand of football, and, maybe he's inspired against his former team to have a heroic type of effort. But, Heineke and Kyle Allen may well be out of the COVID-19 health and safety protocols. And if it's one of those two, especially if it's Heineke, he's turnover prone. No, he gives you some big upside moments. And this is a game where I could certainly see it. But turnover prone, Dallas' defense has been fantastic at creating turnovers. And additionally, Washington's defense been prone to giving up, busted coverages, big plays, and this could be a moment where Dallas's offense kind of re-clicks and gets the engine rolling back forward. So this is a tough one to pick, but I'll go with Dallas to win and cover the 10.5 as it stands right now. And then Monday Night Football, I'm taking the Dolphins to win and obviously to cover because they get 3 points. But like I said, it's been a road for me picking road dogs here between the Colts, not really a road dog, but the Lions, Ravens, and the Bills, if you want to call them a road dog. And now the Dolphins. They've been playing better football. You hope to have Jalen Waddle back, and if he is back, then I feel even more confident with this pick. The offensive line has been great, and that's really what's holding me back is Cam Jordan, Marcus Davenport. They could take this game over. But Miami's been able to build an offense and hide how bad that offensive line is by getting the ball out quick to Parker and Waddle and the RPOs and et cetera, et cetera. And maybe Miami has something with Duke Johnson Jr. Now back, quote unquote, in Miami. This game's in New Orleans, but I'm going to go with the Dolphins. They've been red hot, and the Saints feel like they're coming off their Super Bowl in a lot of ways against Tampa. They'll probably get some players back. They'll almost certainly have Sean Payton back from COVID. So they do get some reinforcements to kind of counteract that Super Bowl letdown that follows suit. But I'm going to take Miami. I like that as a road dog, and it's actually one of my favorite upset picks, I guess, of the week. But that's going to do it for my picks for week 16 of the NFL season. Hopefully you all enjoyed, and if you did, hit that like button. It would help me out a ton. If you're new to the channel and want to see more football content, hit that big red subscribe button and comment your picks for the week down in the comments section. Tell me some picks you think I'm crazy about, and tell me some picks maybe you think I'm right on about. Love to talk football with you down in the comment section. But that's going to do it for today's video. Hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day. Till next time, my name is Tej, and I'm signing off.